Hello,
Hello.
podcast family. Welcome back. We're glad that you were here with us.
A little bit of a different
It's
crew
different.
today.
It is different.
Hey, we're here.
We are.
And
we're
Ben's here.
We've got a special guest, Mr. Ben Fusco. If you don't know who Ben is, how long have you worked at Christ Community /Zoe's?
13 years.
13 years.
Yep.
Okay.
And Ben does have
long
an
years.
unofficial title.
What's his unofficial title?
What's my unofficial
The
title?
mayor of Greeley.
I don't know about that. My kids call me the mayor of Sam's Club. So I'll take that. That's like
I'm the
one
queen of
step lower.
Costco.
Yes, but listen, that's a JV position in the city. I'll take a JV podcast position today too. So
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
And really, the idea behind having you here today is, first of all, to give some people a backstory of Zoe's. I think there are probably quite a few people that even attend Christ Community, consider themselves members or here, that don't even realize Zoe's exists. So I would love to just have a quick little backstory of Zoe's and why Zoe's is here.
that's a great start-off question.
Yeah, sorry. It's
That's
kind of
fantastic.
big.
Open the can of worms for you, Ben.
History lesson.
Mhm.
Zoe's is currently kind of the outreach arm, one of the outreach arms locally for Christ Community Church as we currently exist. But Zoe's started as a downtown campus when our church was in a position of kind of looking at multi-site kind of realities, and we've kind of long since changed that. But in 2009-ish, the Phil Grizzle, was really central to the brainchild of what Zoe's was. So Zoe's originally was a downtown campus for Christ Community Church, and then it really embodied this sort of coffee culture back in that time. So there was some mentoring and discipleship stuff that was happening, and that was all being brought under that sort of oversight. And then that group of people were the backbones of bringing the Café into its place at that time of being a downtown sort of cafe coffee shop. This was before a lot of that existed, both in Greeley and kind of abroad. And then over time, the Café kind of changed and morphed into all those years since 15 years now, right? Zoe's just came off of its 15-year anniversary, and we've kind of grown and expanded into 3 different divisions. So we are that missional arm in the areas of the Café and the whole culture around the Café. We're the missional arm with regards to how we relate to the city, and then what we offer as services for the city. So growing into being an event center, to help offset our mission by being in strategic partnership with a lot of nonprofits. And, these are all general, surface level terms of what we do, right? The rabbit holes can go really deep about what that, and I'd love to explore that even today. But, and then the food component, it's so central to me. It's so central to Zoe's. It's so central to, our staff, and it's so central to how we kind of communicate our mission to the city. So we have those 3 divisions. That's where we've had our food truck in the past, and how it's been utilized by the church and ourselves in the city, and then our relationships in town, which has brought out sort of a balance between mission, sort of bridging gaps between sacred and secular, things like that. So that's kind of the elevator pitch of where Zoe's has been.
Sure.
So I get the privilege of being in the Zoe's world with you, not necessarily in executing the day-to-day stuff, but really trying to think big picture, right? And so Zoe's has been on this 13-year journey where it's been really kind of figuring out, who are we? What are we doing? And in that season of time, there have been these deep relationships that have been built and these partnerships. And I think right now is when we're actually starting to really see some of that stuff coalesce together.
Yeah.
Like you and I, when we often talk about Zoe's, we use this language of it being a hub.
Yeah.
Right. So a hub exists, but it's got all these different things passing through it, and you put all that together and you get a tire that, can go in a car or whatever. Right. I would love for you to kind of unpack some of that stuff. I mean, you don't have to go into specific details, but.
We will.
Oh, we will? Okay. But just some of that heart, because a lot of people in the church, when they think about Zoe's, they're like, oh, it's a coffee shop. It's this additional space where we can host things. And it totally is that. I'm not denigrating that, but it's so much more. And the fact that the city is noticing who Zoe's is and saying, hey, we want to work with you, that other businesses are noticing, saying, hey, we want to work with you. There's something there. And I'd love to just hear kind of your heart on that.
Sure. Yeah, so my heart has always been as a follower of Jesus myself. I've always I grew up wanting to be a person that was different than very much a cliched Christian. I kind of had my own, we all have our own
You
crises
don't
of faith.
say.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't
As
Ben
say.
doesn't
the
want to be
staff knows me
cliche.
well, and I kind of have this burning angst all the time inside me. But I think
That's just heartburn, dude.
that's yeah. Well, when you're around as much fried foods, then that's a problem. I
Your
guess.
cortisol level
No, my
goes up
cortisol.
when
That's
you're
right.
around
That's
Ben.
right. It's heartburn and cortisol all together. It's tied. But I want to live an authentic life, and I think most people really do. Most people want to follow Jesus in an authentic way. So my own heart has been really. It's really just aligned with Christ community in a great way. And I think the desire to, kind of figure out what our vision is with the larger team and our congregation and try to execute that mission has really been at the heart of this. But my goal and my desire has been to tear down walls where traditionally Christians have, set up walls that divide things that we would call the areas that are spiritual or the areas that are important to Christians. And they are important. But, I think we fundamentally believe that this whole thing is God's, that
Right.
all
Yeah.
of creation is God's, and that he called creation good from the beginning. And that doesn't push away all of the bad things, the sin and the evil that kind of permeates the world. But, this is his place. And if it's his place, then what would that look like for people to actually do all of the things that encompass life, not just the things that we would put into categories that are traditionally Christian? So, we want to feed the poor and take care of the homeless and take care of the widow and the orphan, the things that we feel are mandated, so to speak, for us. But there's so much more in life as well. What is everyday life? And so Zoe's has become a hub for that. And it's based really on the relationship and the relational, flack or leverage that we have in this city by being people with high integrity, that are honorable, that don't have any hooks, meaning that we're not out to get something. We're just out to see a flourishing Greeley. So the word Zoe's means life, right? It's the abundant life of God now. And so we want to manifest that, and we want that to flourish in our lives. We think that everybody fundamentally believes and wants life. They want to flourish as people. And so we think that that's how God wired us and created us. And so as we are a hub, as you said, Nate, that's a place where people can come and go as they seek life, as they look forward to what they want to do or where they want to engage or how they want to be intentional. All of us are the main character of our own story.
Right.
And so God's vision for us, Zoe's really believes, I believe, is whatever you want to do is really aligned with what God wants you to do. So we're blessed to have all these college students around, right? All of
Right.
these kids from UNC. That's a lot of our relational connections have been through the college. All of our baristas are volunteers. The line,
That's huge. Say that again.
yes, all of our baristas are volunteers.
Yes.
Be
Right.
kind to them.
So
Yes. Right.
they volunteer to do shifts. They go through the training. There's some fun perks that come with that, free drinks or whatever. But really, the barista culture in the cafe has been what has upheld the cafe for what it is in that area. So our recruitment of them and our relationships with them have been huge. I don't know, in my 13 years here, we have put on dozens of weddings of people that have come through Zoe's, either baristas or people that were future spouses of baristas or family members of baristas. So there's kind of like this little community that has grown out of that and then expanded into Greeley. So that's one huge relational component that we've done inside Zoe's. But beyond that, there's this flourishing thing that I think really is what people want. And so we have a lot of those because they're at that age. Lots of students come in and they're like, what do I want to do? Or where am I going to go? And what am I doing next? And when you ask people, a lot of times they'll give you that answer, whatever God wants me to do. And so that's a common question that people have. Well, we believe that whatever you want to do, there's something there that God has for you. And so what we try to do is we try to point the compass in way, or allow them to see the compass in the relationships that we have, for them to say that my life is my main event and what I do brings value because I'm made in God's image and I offer those things to the world. So
So I love that we all know people that we can point to and say on a personal level, like we've seen that flourishing happen.
Yeah.
the thing that I'm most excited about is probably really these next 3 to 5 years
Sure.
in the Zoe's world, because of who Zoe's is and the way it's positioned, because of you and your relational connections in the city and being faithful, showing up. It kind of feels like a lot of people and businesses and governments and organizations are saying, hey, can we come sit at your table?
Yeah.
And can we all figure out together, how do we utilize and leverage all the different things that we have so that the people in our city can flourish? Like, talk to me a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great question. There's such a wonderful, iconography that goes with the table.
Yeah.
I think even in our faith, we see a lot of gathering around the table, suppers and meals. I think that's sort of written on the DNA of all humans.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever you go, whether you're city government, whether you're a business owner, whether you're, I don't even know, average Joe, whether you're a barista, whether you're, I'm a football coach, whatever. All of those things, like, there's still a human component to that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so oftentimes we find ourselves coalescing around things that unite our humanity.
Right.
And eating and coming around the table is one of those things. So one of the best parts of our sort of division of food, whether that's catering or whether we've gone and taken the truck some places where the youth, used our truck for a few years. You were part
Central.
of that, right?
Yeah, Central.
Going to Greeley Central and helping, blessing the teachers, letting the students have a place to come buy tacos, and then we would bless the teachers with parts of that too. There's something that was magnetizing about a table. And so we would actually say at the truck, come to the table. So there's an invitation that we're always offering to try to show the world the things kind of that we believe, but also just invite them to the table, that they're all welcome, that they all have a seat at the table. And so as we've kind of presented that, what's happened is the humanity of these organizations comes out, and we've started to see in those relationships the people behind the curtain.
Right.
Yeah.
And so right now we have a lot of relational development with organizations, with the city of Greeley, with some of the initiatives that the city of Greeley is really starting to be passionate about and starting to take forward steps towards. So, and they align with a lot of our heartbeat as well. We feel like they align with the city, not the city, but we feel like they align with the heart of Jesus in these things. Mm-hmm. So as we look at who our neighbor is, and we look at who our relationships are in the city, and we look at, who we have to come to the table with, we have now created these opportunities, and those people are coming to the table. So we've had extensive conversations and meetings with the city with regards to some of the initiatives that they're trying to at least put on the table for the citizens of Greeley. We don't have an agenda in that, and that's the cool part, and I think that's the safety of what Zoe's is to these organizations. It's neutral.
And I even remember in one of those meetings, there was somebody there who specifically called that out. They said, man, I have never been a part of something connected to a church that wasn't trying to get me to do something.
Correct.
That actually just wanted to come and to be a part of something and to be a participant.
Yeah, and I we're seeing that a lot.
Yeah.
You see a lot of, that's why I say, like, we don't have a hook. When people offer something and they want something in return, it's very different. It's a transactional thing.
Yep.
We're just setting a table, inviting people to come for conversation. We want to be in relationship with them. And they're saying now, oh, you're a church? This is the beauty of Zoe's. It's a subversive movement of an organization that is a church that's backed by a congregation that is passionate about what it means to follow and experience Jesus.
Well, and to be for your city.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. To be participants in the city.
Community.
That's
right. That's right. And I think about, like, some of that city stuff, how that all got started. It was actually the city Christmas party that was hosted here. It just began in a conversation that wasn't even designed around, hey, we need to have a chat about this. It was tell me about what you do. Well, I do this, that, and the other thing. It's like, oh, we should really get together and talk.
That's right.
And so there's something, I think, really attractive about creating a space like Zoe's where, there is no hook. It's just, let me just tell you what I care about. Let me tell you what's on my heart.
Right.
What's on your heart.
Right.
Man, that's amazing. Can we maybe talk more about that?
Right. And then to have the sort of the backing to be able to help execute some of those things in support of those, right? Yeah. To be an event center that can host a city event, not just a holiday party. We were privileged to host that holiday party, right? But it was in the relationship conversations that we had with some of the leadership in that group that was able to say, sitting down at the end of the event and tell me about yourself. What are you in charge of for the city? What is your responsibilities? And then they reply with the same question. Well, we're here because we want you to flourish. We're here because we want the city of Greeley to become what it has the potential to become, a place that, doesn't divide, that looks at its neighbor and embraces it.
Yeah.
So Zoe's has expanded in its relationship with the Immigrant and Refugee Center as another example. So the college ministry has their once a month
College dinner.
college dinners that we do every Thursday during the school year. And so
And
we
talk about that, about the prepping of the food and
Right.
everything.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, the IRC, with different relationships that we've had, right? Going down to the IRC, we were introduced to Araceli, who's the executive director of the IRC, and an idea came up from one of our congregants at the church who said, we have these college dinners, which basically the college ministry was just blessing and loving on students. And so for the first Thursday during the school year, we had a free meal. Come down to Zoe's, get a free meal, study, be in relationships, sort of get to know people, socialize. And that's another thing. Our culture is becoming more and more isolated. So to become a gathering place, so to speak, or a place where people can actually go to actually engage with human contact.
Connect, yeah.
Like,
Well, and
this
have the
eye
space to
contact
do
is
it.
really
It's
awkward
weird,
right now.
isn't it?
Not for me,
I'm
Ben.
expected to scroll, But I think the point is the relational connections to the people of the RC spurred an idea that instead of us cooking and coming up with a menu, what if we went out to the community that was there at the IRC? What if we asked one of the clients there if they wanted to cook their meals from their home countries? And so we sourced it. I had to go and, really try to be really relational with that to make them feel safe, because there was some,
Yep.
caution that they had. Like,
Sure.
what is this? What is
Why?
the
What
point?
do you-
Why would you
yeah.
do this? Well, we love food and we love gathering around a table, and we want people to experience your food. Well, what's it going to cost?
Yeah.
So we'll take care of everything. We'll be able to provide the food just like we did with the other college dinners, and then you can come into the kitchen and have free reign. And so they have been the funnest experiences that I've ever had to have. There's been one male, and then it's been all females who've come
And the food is so good.
Yes.
I bet.
And then for me as a foodie, as a geek, just watching how they make their different dishes.
Not your normal Sam's Club
No,
run, huh?
not your normal. We're talking like going to Star Kitchen down on 11th
I
Avenue.
bet.
Or going to the wholesaler to find something
Yes.
unique for sure, spices or whatever. But just that whole process. I think the experience from that perspective was more of a blessing to us than it was to even the college students.
Yeah.
Because the college students, oftentimes they come in and it's a meal and it's kind of a checkout. For us, we were able to put their story up on the projectors, print cards to be able to put on the tables to tell the story of the chef or whoever was cooking, to tell the story of their home country, many of whom are coming here in danger of their lives
Right.
or who have some form of
Yep.
oppression that's been happening. And that story is not being told.
Right.
And so it was another opportunity for us to tell the story.
Yeah.
Not with a hook, but just so people can realize that these are the things that are happening.
Well, there's another beautiful step that even kind of comes off that, right? So we talk about Zoe's flourishing, people experiencing life. We know this because we spent a lot of time with you and talked about that, but I know you're a really big believer that when God wants us to experience life, that's the totality, right? It's not just spiritual life. It's in your relationships and your finances, every part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I found that there is such a beautiful, I don't even know if I want to call it economic justice. I don't even know what I'd call it, but leveraging who Zoe's is and all these events that we have to be able to actually provide an opportunity for people to make an income. Talk to me about some of that stuff, because really no one is ever going to see that when they just come into a coffee shop unless they're back in the kitchen. But the stories and the opportunities for investment that happen back there because of it.
Man, you have them. You have it already, Nate. That's awesome. Things that I would never remember to talk about. To finish the point, though, on the food side, the experience of these ethnic immigrant and refugee folks that have come through, that have grown in our city. We are one of the most diverse cities in the state. We are more diverse because of all of the populations that we have. And I'm not sure that Greeley really knows that. And so I think the more you know about your city, the more you can become a participant in your city. That's the same thing in faith. So the thing you just talked about, this sort of connection between, there really is no sacred and secular. There's only your life. And as we engage our lives and we become the main event of our lives, we start to become participants in being God's image. And as we're God's image, then we become manifestors and carriers of hope as that expands into the world. The experiences of these people when they cook have been phenomenal. I mean, things that you can't even really articulate. They're blown away by our generosity. They're blown away by the safety of the place. They're blown away by, how we take care of the food, whatever leftovers they get to take home to their families. They walk around the cafe. We always sort of let them walk around the cafe and talk to the people, and they get feedback of their own food, and they start to see that the gap that they had is not there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the goal, but it's been more of a blessing for us to see that than it is to have something to offer the college students. And that's really kind of the point of that, is if we started to position ourselves in such a way that we didn't see these divisions and these barriers, then what would that look like? So if we were people that could hire in some of these endeavors, this is why the generosity of the church has been so valuable, is as people have been generous, we've been able to make impact in these areas. Mm-hmm. It's not just the traditional missionary type of activities or missional ones, which we are constantly doing. But in my world, it's really the relational components of what would happen if we could actually put on events now, and we could hire people that might be from like Jobs of Hope, which is an organization that we love and partner with, which kind of try to find jobs to formerly incarcerated men. Right. What would it look like if we could hire some people from the IRC? There's a huge workforce that is available that exists at the IRC. Yep. So what if we leverage both our relationships with other businesses? Mm-hmm. So I go to all of my friends that this is where the relationships in town are helpful. Of being in this city for as long as I've been in this city, you knock on the door of a restaurant owner that and say, hey man, hire this person. Mm-hmm. Go to the IRC and hire somebody from Haiti that's come through. Right. They're entirely legal to be able to work for you. The only problem is a language barrier. And if you can get over the language barrier, you'll have an amazing employee who's very hardworking, who wants to work, and start to actually heal and restore and connect this amazing city that we have. And so Zoe's is using that relational leverage to try to influence and bless and invite people to this opportunity to say, become the center of your life for God's kingdom the way that you want to, and then watch the world change.
Love that.
Yeah. There's two stories that come to mind that really, I think, kind of showcase the impact of that philosophy and that way of living. So the first one had to do with the college dinner. Georgia Coates, she's amazing. Mm-hmm. She works over at the IRC, big part of Christ's community. One of the people who was cooking one of the weeks, not Christian, part of a Muslim background, not very receptive to any kind of faith conversations with Georgia, right? And Georgia's been investing for a long, long time.
A long time.
And so when this person came and they cooked here and they just had this like amazing experience, I remember Georgia telling me like, hey, on the back end, this individual came to her and said, hey, this place is called Zoe's. Your daughter is Zoe. Talk to me about that. Yeah. And then Georgia, like in that moment, she got to share faith. Now, like, who knows where that goes? But just by showing up and loving someone and removing that artificial barrier, it actually created the vulnerability for a conversation about something real to happen. And then I think about, you had shared with me a while ago about a business owner friend of yours who has seen what's been happening here and has been inspired by it and saying, hey, I think I need to shift the way that I do business and the things that are driving me. Right. And that's really the impact that Zoe's is having, right? It's not just this thing that is relegated to our address here in this space. It truly is having this ripple effect in the city of Greeley. Yeah. And I can't wait to see what that looks like. I mean, we have no idea what it's going to look like, but that's the beauty of posturing ourselves in the position that we have. We said, hey, we just want to see it flourish and we want to be a part of it. Yeah. And Ben, you are a big part of that, man. Like you really are. And I want to celebrate that and I want to honor that. Yeah. And I wanted to definitely share some of this. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like there's so much more to the Zoe story and what happens. But I understand that for most people who are part of our church, like they just don't know. Right. And we're going to do a better job of communicating some of this stuff. But like there is just this beautiful
This is on film, right?
Yes.
Because I've been asking for this for a long time in some form. So
well, here we are.
I'm glad that I have these two people at the table because these are the two people that are going to actually make it happen. But there's a lot of ideas that have to do with that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely follow Zoe's on social media.
And come on down if you've never been. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and I think even as the future moves forward for the ideas that we have, there's this trying to find language that really articulates
Yeah.
this direction
Yeah.
more clearly, because language changes, culture changes, and people change very
Right.
quickly. And so for us to stay on the front end of that with clear articulated language is where we want to
Yep.
go. So the dream for where Zoe's is going in the next, whatever, we always say 3 to 5 years. That is the constant comment, right?
Right.
Everything is 3 to 5
5
years.
years.
Yeah,
For 12, for
3 to 5
13
years.
years,
Yeah.
it's 3 to 5 years, which is true. But because everything moves in that direction, there's a lot of hopeful reality that is going to come onto the
Yeah.
table. And I think a lot of that is this desire to look at humans through the lens of God's image.
Yeah.
And look at humans as if when you talk about issues like, poverty or whatever, whether it's what the city is dealing with or whether it's us as followers of Jesus is dealing with, it's like there's the people part of it and there's the category.
Mm-hmm.
And so we never want to lose the people or the poor
Right.
for the sake of trying to fix something that we call poverty. And so in the world of influence, in the world of relationships, we want to continually ask questions of what does it mean to be human as God intended it, and invite people into that conversation, and then influence and inspire people to go out of the doors of Zoe's with the tools that they might have, or the inspiration that they might need, or the hope that they would have to actually be that person in that image. So we want to influence that. And I think, the growth of some form of communication is going to be key in that.
Yep.
So we want to tell more stories with that. We want to create videos, and we want to, explore whatever channels of communications are available to explain that, to communicate that, to create almost there's always this hope of a grassroots,
Sure.
Movement, but you want sort of this grassroots organic movement towards this idea that people are made in God's image, that Jesus is the center of all of that.
Yeah.
And then what does that look like in our city, and how does it change the world?
I think I've obviously been a part of Zoe since the beginning.
Right.
However, I was more of a spectator.
Right.
I've recently moved here to office here. And so being part of this culture now and like feeling very new to
Right.
the culture, I will
Right.
say,
Right.
it's been amazing to see the amount of people. I love like you go out, you feel inspired, but it's also a place where people feel safe and can belong. And and I noticed that in just seeing the repetitiveness of some of the people that are here every week.
Yep.
There's these two gentlemen that are down there every week and they play chess.
That's right.
But it's
Every
like
Thursday.
and it's
That's
like
right.
this is what they do,
That's right.
and you see homeschool kids come in with, their moms or their dads. And it's this place where we talk about, the third place. Where's
That's
your
right.
third place? And
That's right.
this can be that third place.
That's right. That's a really good point, Jenny. I think, the cafe itself kind of has that vibe, and it's something that we want to pay attention to as we move forward. So people can belong long before, and they do belong long before there's anything that has to do with belief in anything.
Yep.
And so that's sort of the goal, is to let people see that they belong. And so if you belong, it's humans are tribal. So, our ability to belong to something is really written on our hearts. So let's keep doing that, being a space for that. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions.
Yeah,
This is a lot of
Ben will get back to you.
information.
And honestly, with that though, like if any of this stirred your heart and you're like, man, I want to know more, I'd love to be a part of this nebulous vision that we're going after, feel free to reach out to Ben. We'll actually put his info here as well. Not his cell phone, but his email. And he'll probably call you. But I just don't want your phone blowing up. But we would love to be able to explore that with you, because like all things, this is an experiment for us.
Yeah.
And we're moving forward courageously. We're adapting. We're doing all the stuff.
Yep.
And it's fun.
Box
So,
three.
Box three. That's right.
Yeah, you only
Box
try
three.
by failing, so we're going to keep falling forward in this idea.
Hey,
of what it means.
our failing forward has led to some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. And I will say that I don't know. There's a competitive side of me too, but I grew up in the church, so the privilege to be able to do this kind of ministry or this type of activity for a church is unique. It's not done often. So for our church to be able to take these risks and they're not really large risks, they're just different than we traditionally know. It's an incredible privilege to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
And it's an awesome opportunity for us to embrace that reality that we should take risks and try things new. And so I always say kudos to Christ Community Church for being that group of people. When I talk about our church in the public, that's what I always bring up, is that it's not competitive. It's just, this is who we are, and this is how we're going to express and manifest the life of Jesus in the world. And I'm proud to do that. It's a privilege to be able to do this. And I would pray and hope that never changes, that we always take risks and try new things like that.
Love it. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.